Yeah.
Cool. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Who's Slammin'. I'm your host, Jeff Ward. Today we have with us the drummer for Aaron Kamm and the One Drops, Mr. Sean Raila. Thanks for doing it, bro.
Yo, Jeff, thank you, brother.
Yeah.
So glad to be here.
Appreciate it for your time, man.
Yeah, man.
For sure. So we're at the Granada Theatre, Mount Vernon, Illinois. Show tonight, Cluster Pluck, Aaron Kamm and the One Drops. Can't wait. Been really excited about the show all week. And we're going to talk about some drums and drumming.
Hell yeah.
All right, and away we go. So tell us about how old you were when you first got started and you had that interest in playing drums. Like, what was the thing that kind of you found that gave you that itch, you know, that were like, damn, like, what's that thing?
For sure. I think as long as I can remember, I was always naturally, like, just interested in drums. They, like, piqued my interest. But really around 4th grade, around school band time, I got into the percussion section and started drumming there. A year or so later, I had a drum set. I was jamming with my best buddy across the street, you know, and starting little garage bands through junior high and high school. And then I decided to go to music, for college for music.
So started around like 4th grade, so you're like 9, 10, 11
yeah,
years old. Cool.
And like at that time, I was really into like The Offspring and Green Day and like Metallica. Those were like big on like my very, very early influences in drumming. And then I kind of got into like Hendrix, some classic rock stuff from my dad, Van Halen.
Cool.
And a lot of the blues stuff too from my dad, and living up, you know, growing up in the Chicago area, there's a lot of influence of that there.
Okay.
And then, but yeah, in the younger days, I was really into rock, and like once I really started drumming, it was like Brad Wilk from Rage Against the Machine.
Awesome.
And
Same.
Jose Pasillas from Incubus.
Nice.
Learned a lot from System of a Down and that whole kind of era of the like late 90s, early 2000s.
So that's awesome. Like a little bit of new metal, a little bit of like old metal, the Metallica stuff. I'd love to hear that. Lars was one of my very first like influences too. Trey Cool,
Yeah,
you know, Green
yeah.
Day. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome. It's like a nice little kind of like variety.
Right.
Yeah.
I got into high school, still continued like with school band my entire school career from 4th grade till I graduated. And so I was studying classical and orchestral percussion the entire time. I was lucky to have a band director that was a percussionist and very well-trained percussionist. So
Nice.
I picked up a lot from him in high school. And then as far as the drum set, though, like I said, I was in the first half of high school, I was really into the heavy stuff. And then I started jamming with some guys that wanted to do like they were into Fish and the Dead and
I like that stuff too.
Allman Brothers and all that. Well, so I went and jammed with them, and excuse me. After playing with them once or twice, they were like avoiding me, and I'm like, how come you guys don't want to jam anymore? And like they're like, well, hate to break it to you, but you like just thrash the whole time. You like it's like trying to play with a drum solo. You know, I'm probably blasting double kick pedal and China cymbals the whole time. And that was a totally changing moment for me. Thank you to those friends from high school that were honest with me and told me that, because it totally flipped my perspective on how important groove and pocket and versatility and listening is as a drummer, and being a musician in that seat, not just somebody that just like hammers away.
It's a terribly important lesson, I think, to learn. And some guys do it and they get it, and then some struggle with it even, you know.
And after that changed me to where I started to listen to some of the jam band stuff, and that got me curious to where those bands were pulling from, which got me into jazz and the world music stuff, to reggae, which later became a huge passion of mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if you had to nail down though, like just one guy, and I know this is always a tough question, like one guy, one gal, like when you were younger and you first started playing, who was that one big influence where you're like, all right, that's the guy, or that's the gal? I know it's tough, right?
Yeah. Like I said, the few that I mentioned earlier, like Brad from Rage Against the Machine and Jose from Incubus, but what somebody that I think is a heavier influence on music that's a little bit more in depth is Billy Martin from Mineski, Martin and Wood.
Nice.
And just his musical approach to the drum set and playing groove based, but being versatile enough to go completely to the avant-garde,
Nice.
And back.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
Very influential.
Nice. Let's talk about influences that you have now. Like everybody kind of falls into that slump every once in a while, like as a musician, and they need to find something that kind of like recreates that spark to get you like excited about like either writing music or playing live or anything like that. So those guys back then, like if you could nail down one nowadays that you found, like let's say within the last 3 years.
Okay.
That you didn't know before.
Last week, a band I discovered a while before, but I just had the opportunity to see, is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Cool.
They came through St. Louis last week and just totally put on a mind-blowing experience for sure.
Nice.
That I don't know if you're familiar with the band or not, but
I am familiar with the band. Not so much their song catalog, like per se,
it's
but
huge.
like I've heard the name. I've seen it a lot of
different
different
places. They have like
places.
25 or 30 albums or something like that. They're a band that puts out like multiple albums a year or whatever. They're from Australia, super psychedelic rock, but also like it could be thrash metal. Like they're all over the place.
Cool.
But also, like J.D. Beck. Like if we're talking like nerding out on drum stuff, you know, J.D. and I like Mark Giuliano a lot, and Nate Smith with the Fearless Flyers and those guys.
Yeah, that's good.
So
that's he's nasty Nate.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I went to a drum clinic in St. Louis. It was a few years back that he did, and it was such
Did
an
he do
amazing
like
night.
Where he just played like hi-hat, snare, and kick drum or something?
He did
or
all
very
that.
minimal.
He did all that,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of crowd participation too, with like different time signature stuff and us clapping and him throwing us off.
Yeah,
and, like, everybody in the room's like,
has everybody
what?
mark one or whatever.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was so awesome.
Have you got his drum solo album?
No.
Like I think it's Pocket Change maybe. And
oh, you know what? Maybe I do.
It's just him, the whole
forget.
record.
I forget.
It's fantastic.
I bet I do.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I went through the old favorites in the Spotify list. Let's talk a little bit about like how Aaron Kamm and the One Drops kind of formed and how you originally met those guys.
Sure. So I grew up in the Chicago south suburbs and came down to Southern Illinois for college after high school. Was studying music and living in Edwardsville, Illinois.
SIUE.
Yeah, SIUE. And at that point in time, I was doing everything I could to play with as many people as I could just to get a gig, you know, whatever it was. So I was playing with multiple groups and then would go regularly to the open mic nights at the Stagger Inn. Shout out, Edwardsville, Illinois.
Get the gumbo, by the way.
And so Kamm and Andy, same thing. They were all participants of the open mics and also kind of doing their own projects as well. But we didn't know each other at that point. And I met Andy first off. I kind of started to try to do a project with him and one of the band members. Didn't work out, he moved away, but Andy and I had chemistry from the beginning. And he said, hey, there's this guy, Aaron Kamm, that's looking to start a band. He was playing with Craig K, and Craig's an excellent conga player. But Kamm was looking to get more into the rock and full band thing. And Andy was like, hey, I've been jamming with this drummer. We met up at my house in 2007, I believe, the October, like Halloween of 2007.
Okay.
And haven't stopped playing since. So
It's awesome. It's awesome.
yeah.
Since I first moved over to the Metro East, and that was 2011 or 12, and like I remember, I think it was maybe down at the Atomic Cowboy. I ended up at some gig you guys were on down there. I think that was the first time I seen the band, but no one, you know, Tina and everything, they were like, yeah, you got to come out and check them out, and so I did, and you guys have been one of my favorite St. Louis area bands like since then.
Thank you.
I was wowed. They're so good. I can't wait for the show tonight.
St. Louis is a special city for music.
It really
sure.
is.
Yeah.
It really is.
And I think that it's a gem, and a lot of people don't realize it. You know, especially you East Siders that are scared to go over the river. You know who you are.
Love it. All right, let's talk a little bit about like standout shows. You guys have been jamming since, you know, around like 2007. You guys have played all over St. Louis area, the region, nationally. Like, if you could nail down like one or two like shows that just were kind of like next level, like, man, you guys were done, and you guys all looked at each other like that one was on fire. Like,
you know, as far as like performances that I feel like just like went off without a hitch, would be hard for me to, you know, like that, like where I just felt like the you know, that was just the best show ever kind of thing. I feel like every night we get to a point, so, you know, obviously not every gig is the greatest, but musically we always try to come to a point where we all are communicating musically, and that's kind of the whole purpose, really.
Sure. But one of those gigs were like, man, like you guys were, you know, you were giving it your all, you were getting it back from the crowd.
So like early on, we got to open up for Steve Miller Band.
Cool.
And play like our first like arena show, you know. So that was like a big like give you the chills, like pinch me, I'm dreaming thing, you know, because
awesome.
Something you've been wanting to do since you've been a kid, and you've been listening to Steve Miller your whole life, you know. That's just one of those cool moments. And we've done some, you know, we get a lot of love in Colorado.
Cool.
So we love playing out there. I love visiting Minneapolis. We got a lot of friends up there, and the musicians in that area are stellar.
It's hard to nail it down.
Yeah,
man,
it's hard to nail it down because, I mean, we've played thousands, you know.
Right.
Summer Camp Music Festival, we really played some super energetic shows there in front of, you know, some of the bigger audiences that we've had a private, you know, show for or whatnot. So
cool. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into a little bit of the gear part, and let's talk about the tubs that you play.
Mm-hmm.
What are we playing live tonight?
I'm a longtime Gretsch player.
Nice.
I have the kit that's up there now is a Gretsch USA Maple. It was made in 2004. It's the New Old Stock series, which is based off of the, like, I don't know, the way that they were building the Gretsch drums in the 50s or 60s or something like that. I'm not that deep into the specifics on it, but I really like Gretsch drums. I feel like they feel really warm, and I just like, I'm not super picky on gear though, but I fell in love with this Gretsch kit.
Yeah.
It's a 10-inch tom up front, and then I play a 14-inch tom on the side, and then I added a 16, which is, it's not matching the kit. It's a Catalina, I think a Gretsch Catalina 16. So I do 1 up, 2 down with the toms, and then I'm playing a Ludwig Acrolite snare.
Beautiful.
With the black sparkle finish.
Nice.
So the blacker light, if you will.
Nice.
And yeah, an assortment of Zildjian and Sabian cymbals.
Okay.
Again, I'm not.
So a mix on the brass.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Kind of a combination of some cymbals I'm pretty specific about. Other ones, like my main crash, I'm like, it just has to sound like a crash. I don't really care what it is.
Right.
But the rides, I'm a little bit more particular and stuff. And,
okay.
And you know, getting into that, something that's not totally common is I use a multiple ride setup. You know, a lot of drummers just kind of stick with one ride, and I have 2. You know, unless you're Carter Beauford or something like that, right? Yeah. But
yeah, throw one over on the left. See how it goes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Still working on that old left hand.
Yeah.
But my lower ride, the K Custom, is kind of the ride that I had when the band started and used through so much of the early days and through the recordings, that I kind of feel like that ride is just kind of part of the sound.
Yeah.
And then I later added the Omni, the Sabian Omni. It's the Omni ride, the Jojo Mayer.
Yeah, Jojo Mayer.
And it's like 3 cymbals in one.
Nice.
You know, it's got a really dense bell, a really dry inner part, and then a really washy, crashy, you know, outer edge.
Love it.
I love it. It's super awesome cymbal.
Let's talk a little bit about hardware. Like, what do you like down below on the feet?
I played Iron Cobra for a long time, and I liked it, but it started to get worn out, and so I went with the DW 9000 to replace that, because it's just a tank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll probably run it over with the van and it'll still be fine.
Right on. As long as it feels smooth on the foot too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Durable.
Very
smooth.
Yeah. It's really smooth, and like that was the thing with the Iron Cobra. Sorry, Tama, but the pedal was starting to wear out to where it was kind of going side to side and was clicking. You know, if I was recording or something, I could hear the pedal clicking.
Yeah. Yeah. So, kind of use all the same setup in and out of the studio, like live performance and studio, or do you kind of like get weird and try different things in the past few records?
No. Just typically whatever live kit I'm playing at that time of our career. Because when we record in the studio, we basically track live.
Right.
All those songs are one single performance. Of course, I'm sure we polish up some overdubs, but you know, the basic core of it all is one core thing. So we kind of just match what we were doing live. One thing that I do a little bit different though is I play a timbale on the left of my hi-hat, and I route the timbale mic through a Space Echo delay.
Nice.
Which is a digital delay, but replicating a Roland tape delay, which was used a lot in the early dub recordings.
Cool.
And so it's got a little bit of reggae history there. But
Nice.
so routing that timbale through there, I'm able to do live dubs when I'm playing with the band by tweaking whatever audio is going through the timbale mic.
Dope.
Yeah,
Dope.
yeah.
Always sounds so cool. What other electronics do we got going on over to the left?
I have next to my pedal, I have the it's a one channel mixer that I just use for my in-ear monitors, which I've been using for a while, just to save the old ears.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also I'll just depending on the front of house setup, I'll use just a tablet that connects to the network of the front of house, and I'm able to run my own monitor mix from my drum set, rather than having to signal to the monitor engineer
Yeah, you
or
need more
to the
this
front
or
of
more
house.
that.
Doing that whole game while you're trying to drum, I can simply just push a fader right next to me and be
Simplify.
comfortable all night. Yeah.
Nice.
I have
Nice.
to bug those grumpy sound guys.
Grumpy sound guys. All right, man. Really, that's it.
Thank
That's
you,
all I
Jeff.
got for
I
you.
appreciate you,
Sean.
brother. Yeah.
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 Aaron Kamm and the One Drops, Cluster Plug, going down. Granada Theatre, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
Woo!
Hit the subscribe button.
Much love.
Thanks for your time, brother.
Yeah.
Peace.
After jamming with them once or twice, they.
Aaron Kamm?
Hi guys.
Hi, guys.
Are you Aaron Kamm?
I'm in the band. We're doing an interview. Thank you.
It's okay. We'll edit it out. No, it's okay.
Okay. So.